to Of Seed and Soil, Unincorporated Voices of Food, Farming, and Freedom. I am your host, Summer Sibley Brown. And if this is your first time joining this podcast, Of Seed and Soil talks about food, farming, freedom from the perspective of farmers, fishers, healers, people working in the food system. And today I have the privilege of having the Commissioner of Agriculture, Dr. Louis Petersen, on the show. Dr. Petersen.
Good day, Ms. Brown, and thank you for the invitation, and thank you for allowing me to be here. It's an honor to be on your program today.
I'm excited. I didn't think that in season 1 I would get you here, so I'm like, yay!
The honor is mine. Indeed, it is.
For our listening audience, one of the things that we try to do, because the purpose of this podcast is to add context to the tapestry that is our food system and the people who live and work and benefit in it, right? And while you and I have, as most guests who come on the show have experience and history, they don't know you, right? So I'd love to start with, who is Louis Petersen? I ain't not in your official title yet, right? Because in the Virgin Islands, we know you as the Commissioner of Agriculture, but who is Louis Petersen, the person?
Well, I'm Louis, sometimes called Akil Petersen Jr. I am a resident of the VI. I was born in St. Thomas in a little area called Simmons Alley.
Never heard of it? Simmons Alley. Where is Simmons Alley?
If you're from St. Thomas, it would be a popular site for you to remember. Simmons Alley is basically not in the east, not in the west, more like mid-island.
Okay.
I would say to you, if you know where the Cinderella Thomas bungalow is, the Market Square, if you walk approximately 10 to 15 minutes west of that, you end up at Simmons Alley.
Okay.
So that's where I was born. That's where I was born. That's where I spent all my childhood years. I would also say that I was privileged to have the opportunity to go with my grandmother, who was an avid gardener. She had the most beautiful garden in our neighborhood.
Can I ask what's your grandmother's name?
Oh, yes. Anne Olivia Dawson.
Anne Olivia
Dawson, born in Tortola.
Okay.
She had the most beautiful garden in our neighborhood. From corner to corner, everything was planted up. And so I had the great privilege of being reared by her and my mom, of course, and working with her outdoor every single day of my youth life. That's what started me out.
That's what started you out.
Yes.
I'm smiling because my grandparents, my grandmothers in specific, play a very special role in my life. Bernice Marie Sibley, who is not here with us, and then my mom's mom, Fernella Daniel, who still lives in St. Thomas in Tutu, but like I understand the special role and the privilege, when you call it a privilege, of having access to your grandparents in such a personal way, where it's not like just like a weekly visit or a monthly visit, but like daily living.
Yes.
It truly is a privilege. So thank you for sharing your grandma with us.
I will add to that by saying that I'm not sure how many grandparents in this time do this, but my grandmother went to the Market Square every Saturday. And who was along with her? I was. Every single Saturday to the Market Square. So I had an appreciation not just for production, but for vending as well, engaging the farmers and being a part of that from table to market, farm to table, market activity.
It feels like your life is like coming, what you do in life has come full circle, right? Like being one of the main advocates and like policymakers and stewards for what those two things, right? Production and marketing look like. Like you're now the steward over the Cinderella Thomas bungalow, right? Like the infrastructure of it, that's actually also very beautiful, right? Like that the seed planted by your grandmother somehow unknowingly or like divinely manifested into you spending so much of your adult time doing that.
You are completely correct. And in my case, again, since you asked about me, at the Charlotte Mali High School, where I attended 10th, 11th through 12th grade, something has happened in my life that took me in this direction in a very certain way. In 1975, we had the longest teacher strike in the history of the Virgin Islands at that time, at least. And in 1975, there were some of us who had no interest in staying home. or being idle, and we formed an agricultural club during that strike, the Charlotte Mali High School Gardening Club. And that also became a climax, not just in my life, but in the life of all those of us who are members as young people.
So you're in relationship with some of the members?
Oh yes,
still?
I am. Oh yes, I am. I think most of us know Lassie Davis.
Yep.
Yes, he was a member of that club too.
Really?
Oh yes, he
The
was.
Charlotte Amali Gardening.
Charlotte Mali High School Gardening Club.
Charlotte Amali High School Gardening Club. I should have like a reunion or like a get together, but most of you, I'm taking it, ventured into environment, agriculture, some type of field.
That is correct.
Yeah. Wow.
So we took hold of the area between buildings B and C at the time, and we planted everything again from corner to corner. We had sales there, right there at the school, sometimes elsewhere. But one thing that happened was that we got the attention of the governor at the time.
Who was?
We're speaking of Governor Louis Emanuel Petersen. He took great interest in us, came to visit with us. And after one visit, basically sent us all the needs that we said we had to do an even better job. I'm talking about a truck full of soil and tools and everything else. And he encouraged us to continue to go as far as we could go in that field of agriculture. So I am privileged to have been even a part of that club and to be there at that particular time, which really made a big turn in my life and, like I said, in my colleagues as well.
How old were you?
16.
Yes, impressionable, and also pretty amazing. We, in an episode with a young lady named Zavira, who is going to the University of the Virgin Islands. You know, she talks a little bit about the power of advocacy and doing things at such a young age, right? Like, and forming a 504 or forming something that really changed you. And like, so here you are on a different angle, but talking about how that moment, because I can't imagine the governor coming, me making my case, and that case actually being met. You know, it's one thing to say, here's what we need. The next thing is to feel the productiveness of closing that circle and receiving the thing.
Yes.
What did that do for you personally when that was done? So we have this garden, we active. What did you do next?
When you begin to think about a governor who is the busiest person, I would guess, in the territory, when you start to think about a governor taking his time to halt other businesses and to come and sit with you, actually sit with you and speak to you about agriculture, which at the time many people didn't think had the value that we know it has. And the governor himself is articulating the value and the importance of what you're doing. That's the ultimate encouragement. That was the ultimate encouragement, and that's how we still feel about it up to this day. I also recall, which is also important, that the governor used to come and support us at the market days. And when he couldn't come, he would send his wife. He didn't have to. It was his means of what? Encouraging us. Didn't have to. But his intent was to encourage us, and the encouragement was well taken.
So I assume after that encouragement, you're 16, you graduate shortly from high school, and you choose to go off to college? I
did. I chose to study agriculture, of course, and I chose to go to Tuskegee Institute at the time, of course, today, Tuskegee University.
You went to Tuskegee?
I did.
That's interesting, and I'm saying that because we have a relationship with a consultant who also went to Tuskegee, but he's another Virgin Islanders. And I think in his walk back, coming home and like interacting with people, at that time he must have met like 5 people who said they went to Tuskegee, right? So I'm just laughing because I was like, oh, I've heard this recently, Tuskegee again. What did you study specifically at Tuskegee?
Plant and soil science. Plant and soil science with an emphasis in plant science. You could have focused on plant or soil as a focus, but I studied plant and soil science with an emphasis in plant science. Horticulture.
Horticulture.
That's what I did.
Okay. So you do that, and then you immediately choose to come home, or did you determine that you was going to stay in the States for a little while?
I came home for simply 1 semester. And then I returned to school at Oklahoma State University.
Okay.
That's where I studied for my master's degree. And again, I pursued horticulture with a focus really on apiculture. My research had to do with the use of honeybees as a pollinating agent in strawberries. So I studied both horticulture and apiculture, which is the science of beekeeping.
I'm smiling and I'm laughing because you wouldn't know this, but in other conversations, specifically on this podcast, one, like again, the episode with Zavira, she was the person who was telling me more about plant science and the fact that plants have vascular systems and that they're named as such and that like they kind of mirror the human body. So, but I also, in the episode with Dara, she references Oklahoma, right? In that she had time in Oklahoma. And I'm bringing this up because hopefully we'll have some followers who watch more than one episode, right? But for me, as the host, I get to see the intersections of the stories and they tickle me because how I met Zavira, who is 22 now, is that she did a project for the AMPS Institute and it was a 3-day intensive and her made up project was leasing or lending land from farmers to put in flower gardens to attract, so it was a cut flower business that had an environmental impact by creating space on farms for pollinators to return. So you're like, and I studied apiculture, looking at pollination in strawberries, and like some of these things are very different, and a lot of it is really so much the same is what I'm getting from the sharing. So that was a long way to tell you, like, you resonate.
Zari, by the way, is one of our shining stars, as you know. I am looking forward to great things and big things from her.
Yes, because we live in a very small space, so it would make sense that you also know Zavi.
Yes, I do.
Okay, so you study apiculture, and then where's your first real job? Because by now is what, 1980?
83.
1983.
I actually came home in January of 1984, and I worked at UVI in the Agricultural Experiment Station here in St. Croix, right here in St. Croix.
AES.
AES, and I stayed here until the fall semester when I left one more time.
Okay.
And that last time I went to the University of Minnesota.
Okay.
And that's where I studied for my final degree, my PhD, and I studied plant science with an emphasis on plant genetics.
Oh, wow. I didn't know that.
Plant genetics, yes, plant improvement. And then I had a minor in plant pathology.
So it's funny because I'm like, I didn't know that, but who knows everything, right? I know that I call you Dr. Petersen. I didn't know what the focus was. So here we have, through extension, and I'm clarifying my thinking, we have Dr. Z, who is a plant geneticist as well.
Yes, he also went to the University of Minnesota.
Oh,
he did.
Okay. So you have the knowledge and the skill to do
Similarly.
Okay, that's just my check clarifying. Yes, okay, thank you. So after you became a plant geneticist, you come back home?
I did in the September of 1989. I've been here ever since.
Can I ask, I'm sure as a young, now doctoral PhD, with the whole world in front of you, you could have chosen to go any place. Why did you choose to come back home?
My commitment to home, my love for home, having no other focus in my mind, no other intent in my mind, no other agenda except for making my home a better place through the field of agriculture. Interestingly, when I studied for my final degree, I was asked to decide on a project. And at that particular time, even more so now, I really realized that we need to find plants that are more tolerant to drought, high temperature. I was even thinking Africa. So my study involved the breeding of beans and developing hybrids that had more tolerance to drought and high temperatures so that I could bring that back home. And that's what the study was all about. It did not begin with me, it did not end with me, but that was the focus of the project. Plant varieties that have more tolerance to, and of course today, that is so meaningful for us, with our climate change issues, high temperature issues, drought issues, even more meaningful in this time.
So what I think everybody knows that it's getting hotter. I think that everybody knows that it's getting drier, or in some cases wetter, than we're accustomed to. I don't think that people understand what that means for food, farming, and just overall production. And not just production here in the Virgin Islands, but food production, period. And so plant geneticists are needed.
Yes,
Hybridization, if that is a word.
it is a word.
Oh, look at
Yes.
that. Hybridization is needed, right?
Yes.
And so we know that there are people is like, oh, I don't want nothing GMO. I don't want nothing that they feel that the genetics have been
Altered.
or adjusted. Is there a way? Because there is a way where you can adjust genetics without splicing them.
Of course. Of course. We're speaking of the difference between what we call traditional plant breeding or traditional plant improvement versus our current genetic engineering approaches. Here's what I'm saying. In nature right now, and it's always been this way, in nature, plants do hybridize. In nature, plants do exchange genes. In nature, plants do develop hybrids that are more tolerant and evolve with the times, okay? But the issue that most people have but don't really know they have it, and therefore, if we as traditional plant breeders do the same thing in nature, there's no issue there. The issue most people have without being able to articulate it is that while it is true that plants can hybridize in nature, there are some crosses that can never happen in nature.
Okay.
Those are the crosses in which plant engineers tend to make happen elsewhere. Splicing genes, exchange. Those are the crosses that people are concerned about because since it cannot happen in nature, we have no idea, no expectation what it's going to yield or deliver to us. You got me? That's the difference. But hybridization per se, there's nothing bad about that.
So, but I feel like this is a level of education that consumers need and everyday people, because I think sometimes when we hear a person explain something, right, and they give us information without checking under the hood or without, further research, it's like buying a car, but you know how it's going to perform. We then take on like, this seems like the right direction, but I don't understand enough about the thing to formalize my own position. So hybridization itself or genes following natural evolution and someone creating the conditions for that evolution to occur a little bit rapidly, right? It could be in a more heat tolerant environment. It's creating conditions for the plant to evolve. Is different than forcing two things
Correct.
that never were meant to be, but we don't know. So I just said, I don't do this. And so now I have this blanket, really hard view against a thing, but not understanding one.
Well said.
It is naturally occurring. There are plenty of things that are naturally occurring, but balancing that against the need. People gonna need food, and we will have to figure out how to keep production going in our rapidly changing environment.
That is the key right now. That is the issue. How do we balance the two? Because you are correct that through genetic engineering, there have been improvements. It is true that as a result of those efforts, there have been increased yields, increased tolerances to pest issues. It is true. How do we balance that? How can we be safe about it so that the outcome is not only more acceptable to the public? How can we educate?
Yeah, and I think so. I think that's what the so my friend yesterday told me that the Latin root of the word educate is educare. And I was like, oh, that sounds like it come from a Harry Potter movie. Educare, right? But like, if only we had a magic wand and we could use that saying to like help give people the information they need to be more informed, because either way, we're not advocating as a department or as a human for a person's position. We want you to have as much information as you need about the thing to make the right choice for you.
Correct.
And so that's important for people to know. So, okay, you have, by this time, because we went down the storyline, raised with your grandma and your mom, beautiful experiences with farming, lucky enough to meet the governor of serendipity, not luck, right? The governor of the Virgin Island intersects with your garden club. There is constant encouragement and support in as small as just regular purchases, right? So there's a soil truck, but there's just this little that this is important, and showing that by kind of putting your money where your mouth is, literally. And then you go away to college and you do it 3 times and you come back as Dr. or a lot of people call you Akil, Dr. Akil Petersen. And now you're Dr. Petersen. You choose home because you have a commitment to it. Where does that lead?
At the end of that, once I decided to come home, my real focus was in academia. My real focus was to work at the University of the Virgin Islands. Fortunately for me, and again I feel honored by this, I have been working in the field that I love for all my life. Not everyone can say that. So every single job that I've had since coming home has been in the field of agriculture. 1, and 2, I've been serving the same clientele, 2.
So I want to highlight 2 things, because I think we would tell our children, or maybe I'm assuming we tell our children, that there are no jobs, meaningful jobs in agriculture here in the Virgin Islands, but yet still we have a Virgin Islander who went away, got the highest level of education that a person can get. You could get a double doctorate, I guess, I don't know, but you are a doctor and you came back home and you found meaningful work in that field for your whole career in multiple places.
Correct.
But about how long would you, if you were to, 20 years, 30 years of work?
At this point in time?
Yeah.
About 30 years.
About 30 years worth of work in a professional capacity right here in the Virgin Islands in agriculture. Would you say that it is as true today as it was when you started, that if a person went away and got their doctoral degree and came home to serve in the field of agriculture, there is a job here or 30 years worth of work waiting for them?
The answer is yes. The answer is yes for several reasons. One of those reasons is that in the first place, you can create your own work. You can create your own business. And there's ample room for that right now in the territory, especially when it comes to food production. Everybody wants more food production. Everybody wants more local food production. So number 1, you can create your own business. In the second place, we are at the verge of implementing an agricultural plan, a plan that asks for the Department of Agriculture to beef up its staff, to expand its staff, to expand its capacity. At least going back to at least 1980 or so, the department had approximately 100 or more staff members. Today we're down to 60-something, almost 70. But right now we are looking at increasing those numbers through the agricultural plan. So we're looking for agronomists. Up to today we spoke about that. We don't know where to find that person locally. We're looking for entomologists, plant pathologists. We're looking for staff members, okay? And so there is room, definitely speaking, should you be a young person who pursues agricultural science and returns home to work. There's ample room, and we're making more room for young people to come home.
I feel a passion in that statement of, and we're making more room. And to your point about making your own work, I made VI Good Food.
Yes,
VI Good Food didn't exist. I have had the privilege of also working in extension, which is where we first met.
Yes.
When I was in the Children, Youth and Families at Risk office, and somehow life evolved where it's like, okay, this is work I'm passionate about, and now we are a 501c3. All of it takes grit, all of it takes work, all of it takes passion, all of it takes, like in my case, prayer, right? A wing and a prayer. All of it takes community, but it is very, very possible, and it is very, very necessary. So I hope any parent, grandparent, young person listening, if you have somebody in your life who said, I want to do something with food, please share these words that there is room here and room being made.
That's correct. Not to mention that we have an aging workforce in agriculture. The 2 main entities locally, we're speaking of the Department of Agriculture and the School of Agriculture at UVI. We have persons retiring every year from both entities. So there is room. So we're making room. And then the School of Agriculture at UVI is trying to expand its offerings. If you want to go from an associate's level to a bachelor's and offer more fields of study, we have to expand. So that's what I meant by making room. We are making room for young people to come home and be a part of this effort.
And we also have a School of Agriculture now, which we had in the past, right? And then there was a hiatus.
Yes, of course, it didn't go by that name, School of Agriculture. We had a land grant system that had all three components: the academia section, the research and extension. Wasn't called a school at a particular time. And then, of course, after a while, the academia portion phased out. Once it was revived, we now have termed the unit the School of Agriculture at UVI.
So we're now also able not only to make space for people to come home and work in the field, but we're making space to educate people right here.
Yes, that is true.
So that's I think that's worth uplifting, right? Because we have a small amount of students who are participating in the program, but I would love to see it expand. I want to bring up something I think you are very passionate of because in terms of youth education, can we talk a little bit about Ag Discovery and tell people what that is and why you even work to orchestrate it and make it happen in the first place?
Okay. I'm going to step back a little bit and end up at Ag Discovery.
Perfect.
And there's a reason for that. The bottom line is that personally, I and others have a passion for involving, enthusing, encouraging, educating young people to come into this field of agriculture. So when we began this effort of what to do about this, we had some summer initiatives. I'll go back as far as when we used to connect with some of our partner universities on the US mainland. We had collaborations with Alcorn State University, Fort Valley State University, Kentucky State University, and through our own connections, we had professors there develop at our request, sometimes 2-week, 3-week, 4-week program for our young people. At our local expense, would send those young people away to see what they can't see here, to get that full exposure to all those career opportunities in agriculture, to see agriculture production in seriousness. And when they came home, I'm happy to tell you, every single time we had at least 2 persons from those groups that decided they want to pursue agricultural studies. So we know that those efforts were meaningful and impacting. That was the goal. So I stepped back because that was the first effort. But then we came across Ag Discovery. Ag Discovery was, it no longer is, not sure if you know that.
Oh, wow. No, I did not.
The current administration has pulled it back.
Okay.
So Ag Discovery was a program offered by the USDA's Animal and Plant Health Inspection Service. It was targeting underserved communities, whereby you could apply for grant funding to develop your own summer programs in agriculture. So we applied, and we did so, and got those funds for the first time in 2016, our inaugural year. Those programs were also very impacting because, again, every single year of that program, we had at least 2 young people who decided we're going to pursue degrees in agricultural studies. Those programs every year were designed to expose our youth, so again, all those academic areas, through not just hands-on, but field activities. Field activities even with farmers on their sites. So that went well, very, very successful program. Because it's now been pulled back, and to demonstrate the local resiliency and seriousness about this, the UVI School of Agriculture has decided to continue a summer program to enthuse our young people in the field of agriculture. This was the first year. Okay?
Oh, wow.
Yes, this was the first year.
That is amazing and to be applauded.
Yes, very much so.
I've had the privilege of working with Ag Discovery, and I just want to say, I think the thing that also I found to be impactful was it wasn't just children from the Virgin Islands, but in Ag Discovery, children from all over the nation got to choose to come here to learn about our agricultural systems and what farming on an island or in the tropics is like. And I think even though our children may not have left, they got exposure and experience. And in some cases, our kids could also apply to go to other states.
And it did happen, and it did happen. So now that we have our own School of Agriculture, we are focusing on developing our local summer programming as opposed to sending our young people away.
Mm-hmm.
But you know, the very first initiative of this kind was in 1994,
Mm-hmm.
okay? And I say that to say this, although we've had every single year young people who decided to study agriculture, unfortunately, Ms. Brown, not one of them ever came back home. They pursued studies, they finished, they were successful, but not one has ever come back home. As a matter of fact, in a meeting I was in last night with someone who's visiting here from Tennessee, he was applauding our young person who is there,
Mm-hmm.
working with USDA, who was one of those young people who never came home.
Can I ask, in your opinion, and this is really truly opinion and human to human, what in you did you like the commitment? You talked about the commitment. You knew that when you went away, your resolve was to add value here. I know it, I want to call it like a secret sauce or a special thing, but what do you think we can do to give our young people or help foster or create conditions that more of them feel what you felt? Is there something we could do? Like that commitment, that part of what I want to do is make St. Croix or St. Thomas or St. John a better place.
Mm-hmm. I think there are many factors, and as you just said, it's a human issue, personality issue, family issues, etc. It's not a simple issue, it's complex. For one thing, I know that what keeps certain young people away is the high cost of living versus the very low wages, the low wages that they make compared to where they are. That's a huge one.
Yeah.
The young lady whom was referenced last night, she actually said to me, she wants to be a commissioner of agriculture here, but she wants to at first build herself up at where she is before coming home. So there is hope, okay? There is hope. So I think wages are a big part of it. I think we have to demonstrate through our practices that we are open to receiving young people as opposed to recycling.
I think those two things are very, very true and well stated. And I think you have a gift for stating things gently, right? Because I do think that we have, somebody told me that in the Virgin Islands, we like to eat our young, right? So we don't actually often do what you experience, which is like encourage and then keep landing encouragement on top of the young people. Like we're not inferring, keep going. We kind of like they're getting in the way and like who you think you is. And like, I've been here. And so I'm 47 now. I run this. I know I'm right. And that we give them a hard wall instead of a soft landing.
You're correct. That goes along with this statement about I've been doing this all my life and this way for the past 20 years. That means you're not open to receiving input from the same young people. That's what I'm talking about in part.
So is it, in your experience of just humanity, no specific community, like how do we get people to have a mindset of continuous learning that's respectful and intergenerational, understanding that I'm going to talk about farmers or farming specifically now, or even within the departments that we have. I've been here and I have experience, and that experience is valuable. You went to school, you learned pedagogy or you learned skill sets and you had certain experiences, that is valuable. Neither one of these things negate the other.
Correct.
Correct. I feel like we end up not, we all want the same thing.
We do.
Progress in a specific direction. And we seem really incompatible in our how. Our how always seem like is this. Instead of, it don't feel like a clap. It feel like we could clap, but it'll feel like a dang, I don't know, comments. How? You have any thoughts? You've been around a long time.
We have to develop that culture in the workplace. We have to develop it. And I think on the individual level, if we just take a step back, think of the big picture, put away all the selfishness, and be a little more selfless. Think of what is needed for the growth, the development of the territory, as opposed to what it takes for just me and my benefit, I think that's a huge part of it. If we think the big picture.
I think if we think the big picture, Emanuela says something to me all the time, that we actually don't understand the institutions that govern us. So I also feel like think the big picture, but be curious, seek to understand. I'm not good at seeking to understand. I'm reminded of that all the time. And it's okay for people in your life to remind you of your shortcomings. I'm a defender, I'm a warrior like energy. And you say one thing, and my defenses are up and my intensity comes out. And it takes people in my life reminding me, like, hey, you could be curious about this. Were you leading someone, or were you genuinely asking somewhere? And I feel I'm a part of this community, and I feel that many of my peers and contemporaries share that defensiveness. And it's not always beneficial, especially when I don't understand the system that is governing, or I don't understand the role. Like, as commissioner, because I was talking to you as a person, now I want to talk to you a little bit about your role. What would you say the primary function of your role as Commissioner of Agriculture is?
One of those primary roles is really to have that vision of what the department needs, what the sector needs to develop, to grow, and to move forward. That vision ultimately needs to be shared with my team, get their input, and develop a final picture. But I cannot walk into this position without a vision, without a thought of where we need to go. And that's what we are doing right now. That's what we have been doing. So my purpose, I feel, is to have that vision, that focus, what needs to be done, and then get input from those around me. Because I will never have all the perspectives. It will never happen. I will never have all of the input that I need unless I share and I'm open to receive. So that's part of my role. Another part of my role is to have some idea of the approach, the format, the protocol, the way forward to share all over again. And that's where we're at. And every single day, we just had a director's meeting today. Every single day, I put it out there. Here's how I feel about this and why. I want to hear feedback now. I want to hear from you. Where do we go? And invariably, I hear perspective that I didn't think about, and I said, okay, that's a good one. Let's incorporate that. And together we have an approach going forward. So I feel my role is to not just have a vision, but to be a facilitator.
You took the word literally right out of my head when you were talking. I was like, oh, facilitator. And I don't know that everybody sees a commissioner as a facilitator. I don't know that everybody understands or understood prior to this, or will understand, right, that I heard you talking about a feedback loop and how important not just having a vision is, but input, receiving input, and including input in plans, right? Because a lot of times you could receive input and do nothing with it. And there are people like, thank you for what you told me. I didn't, the intention is not to do anything with it, but to hear that your intention is to incorporate it.
Always.
Like, I feel like, lessons in leadership, right? When you ask for help, or take it when people give it to you.
On my way here to this interview, I had called my office on St. Thomas and I said to them, this is what I really want to have done. But ask this other team member of ours what his reflections are. And the week coming, I got the call back. And that person said to me, my director of ag development, he said to me, I like that idea, but what about this? And I said, that's a good one too. I said, move forward, okay, just keep moving forward. They are both good ideas, and we're gonna see how we can work together to make it all happen, because they are two really good ideas. So I do mean what I say, and I do actively listen and receive input from my staff. But that also includes farmers and fishermen. In a meeting we had last night, I stood up at the very end and I thanked the farmers and fishermen who showed up. And in particular, I mentioned to one of them, until last night, I never had that perspective on what he had to share. So we really want to be open, because not only can we not move forward without the input of our staff, our team, but we also cannot move forward without the input from those whom we serve.
So, Kamish, as we round out this conversation, one, I want to thank you for even giving me any of your time because I know you're a busy man. But two, in closing, if you had a magic wand, and as Commissioner of Agriculture, you could be like, I could have 3 wishes. What would they be?
You have me on the spot, but it's a good spot. Wish number 1 would be to provide us with the funding necessary to improve our Department of Ag to deliver its services and programs to the farming community to its fullest potential. That money will be used to increase the number of staff, but also the quality of staff, meaning the professional areas that we need in the Department of Ag. But also be used for equipment purchases, infrastructure repairs. Wish number 2 would be to give us that supplemental funding now that we can incentivize farmers to do an even better job through grant programs, etc. And then wish number 3 would be to give us a 3rd pool of monies, final pool, to develop a young farmers and professional training program to replace us who now sit in these offices. That would be it.
So I'm going to say that we will invite you back because I want to talk about cooperatives. We didn't get to that today, and I think that's a big part of the conversation we need to have with our community: the cooperative model, the cooperative mindset, the cooperative spirit. So look forward to another invitation for season 2.
I will anticipate that, yes.
All right. And to you who have joined us for this very rich conversation, I want you to like, subscribe, comment, tell us how you feel. And I want you to, if you are an adult, right, and you have a young person in your life, the charge is go plant your garden with them, take them to the farmer's market, and continue to feed them small bits of encouragement, not just in agriculture, but in any place you see that young person have a passion. Because in today's conversation, we understand how encouragement can lead our young people to pursue their dreams and spend a life doing what they love. And that's what we want for everybody, whether it's in agriculture or any other endeavor. So thank you for joining us, Seed and Soil.